Hello everyone, it is Thursday afternoon. That means it's time for another Facebook Live. I'm continuing doing these as classes, but you can still just enjoy watching the video if you don't want to place an order. Let me get this saved, or not saved, but shared over to my page. My laptop seems to be working. Oh, helps if I'm in the right place. Hang on. Here we go. Now I have to warn you up front, this beautiful paper is still unavailable. Everything else in the suite is available, but this paper is still unavailable, which is too bad because it's beautiful. I think it's the middle of November. I'm sorry, I don't remember. I meant to look. Let me get this shared, and then I might still have that tab open. I can check and see if I can see the date. All right, let me go. Well, all right, I don't know what it was doing. I have to sign out and sign back in. Let me do that real quick, see if I can give you a date on this. And if you're not aware, Stampin' Up! Did add something where you can put your email address in, and they will notify you when something comes back in stock. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. And these are just their best, middle of November. So it says around the week of November 17th is when this paper is their best guess is when it'll come back in. But if you already have all this paper, let me tell you about something before I forget. If you already have this paper and this set, there is a craft class that you can purchase. It's actually going on right now, so I'll have to watch it later. But it's using this bundle. So if you have this already, this is another way to stretch those supplies and get some more cards out of it. So this is an online class. There's a Facebook group for it. If you're not watching it now, then you can, once you purchase it, you'll have access to the Facebook group. I just got in, or just put in my request to get access to the Facebook group. You just have to put in your name and the email address that you ordered it under, and then the order number. And that way they're just verifying that you did purchase this extra class. And then they'll let you in, and they said the video would be available immediately after the class, is my understanding. So I should be able to watch it later today if I have time. So I wanted to let you know about that. This is just something on the website. You can add it to your order just like anything else. Okay, and just in case you're new, we've been changing things up. So now my Facebook Live is a class. So you can get, it's actually, this time it's 4 cards. I may need to just, when it's a class that I normally have 3 cards, make an extra card just so it'll always be 4 cards. But you will get a kit for these, including the Designer Series paper pieces. You will not get the embellishments. You will get paper to cut this out, but you would need the dies and the stamps to make these for both of these. And I'll show you the stamps and the dies in a minute. So if you place an order of $50, then you get a kit for these 4 cards. If you place a kit for, if you place an order of $75 or more, you'll get the kit for the 4 cards plus an embellishment. And this has to be done by Monday. I did not print out, but there's free shipping going on. It started yesterday. Tomorrow is the last day. Orders of $75 or more. So if you do that, if you place a $75 order, not only can you get this card kit for free plus an embellishment, you'll also get your shipping for free. So win-win all around. Okay, let's get started on all of this. Let me show you the pieces to this. So this is what I call, let me show you in the catalog first, a mega suite. Here's just some examples. So it has 2 bundles. So these 2, so that's a Stampin' Die, a Stampin' Die. It has this beautiful embossing folder. And then these were out of stock when I did my class, when I ordered for my class. So I used, what are they called? Delightful Decorative Dots. And they worked just fine. And then this is the beautiful paper that's not available at the moment. Oh, and then red ribbon too. So all of this is in the suite. Now you can't order the suite right now because the paper is not available, but everything else you could order. Okay. I think, oh yeah, now let me show you. So you have traditional labels, and then the dies that go with these. Whoops. Until I've used them because they're falling all over the place. Some beautiful label dies. This one goes with the season greetings and sending love and joy, go right along that curve. And then the others will fit in there, and then you can layer them. And you'll see some of these in my cards. And then the other set is the Christmas greenery set. So there's the stamp set. So you can stamp, like one of my cards, we stamped this and then we stamped all the insides to it. And you could do the same thing here. And then the dies that go with it will cut out those stamped images. So these two stamped images. Also the individual flowers, the individual leaves. And then there's some, these cut out the two big images, and then there's some extra, just add on. I love when they add extra greenery that you can stamp out. The other thing is these two dies that cut out these images also cut out the designer series paper, and I love it when they do that. Because then if you're in a hurry and you don't want to color or stamp all those, you can just die cut the designer series paper and you're ready to go. And then there is the embossing folder that goes with it. Okay, let's get started. Let me see where I'm starting here. All right, I think I'm starting with this one. So this is the one that we stamped the outline. Now in class, I already die cut this. This is just an easier thing to do when you're in class. Whoops, come back here. This is a tool we no longer have. It's the Stamparatus, but any stamp positioning tool would work. But I do this because I'm doing a bunch of these. And when class, it would be really hard to have everybody stamp and then die cut. So I do all the die cutting ahead of time. And then they can just stamp using the stamp positioning tool. So it often helps to put something behind there. I am using Secret C. And we'll just stamp that right on there. Let's see if we got it. No, didn't get it pressed quite good enough there. That's the nice thing about it. You can always put it back. All right, that looks good. We're done with that. Now we just have to do all of our other stamping. So while I have the Secret C out, and I am going to go ahead and grab my Stampin' Pierce mat. It will help see this better for you and I. And then on some of the more solid images, it will help it stamp better. Let me get my scratch paper. All right, so I'm using Secret C again, and this little, to me it looks like a little evergreen. But I'm going to stamp it off before because we stamped the outline in Secret C. I want to stamp it off before I stamp this on top of it. Come here. Now, I'm going to do my best, but I am not directly over this as I normally would be when I'm stamping. So hopefully I can line things up pretty well. This one is a little more forgiving when we get to the flowers. All right, so that's all our little evergreens. So we can put our secret C away. Then let's do our flowers. And I am doing these in crushed curry. Don't need that anymore. And there are two different flower images. So there's one that is partially open or kind of from the side, and one that is fully open. And the partially open one is easy to see how to line it up. All right, one more of these. Okay. Now our fully open, and the way I line this up is there's this kind of rounded. That's the easiest thing to line up, and that goes with this rounded right here. So you line those two up, and that tells you which orientation to do it. Let's turn this. There's only two of these. Hey, buddy. We missed you Monday night. I'm sorry you weren't feeling well. All right, that is all of our crushed curry. Now let's do our other leaves. I forgot to get back over to where I was on my laptop. Let me do that real quick. Just in case I need to see. Okay, here we go. We're back. All right, so this is Old Olive. And this is going to be the other leaves. So the non-evergreen leaves to me. And there's one down in here. I almost always forget it. All right. That's our other leaves. Isn't that fun? Now all we're missing is our big poinsettia in the middle. And that is going to be with Real Red. And then the trick on this one is this yellow flower right here comes down into the poinsettia, and that's where you're going to put this cut out here. And then I just look at the other leaves and line that up. And there you go. Isn't that pretty? All right, we still need our Real Red. Get that out of the way if I can. And we have our strip for our sentiment. This is from the Christmas labels. I've already put that away somewhere. Traditional labels. Traditional labels. So we're going to do this in Real Red also. I'm going to do it a little bit towards the left because I want to banner cut the right end. There we go. All right. Now the other thing that I did on this is I used this Forever Plaid embossing folder, and that's what's in the background here. So I love that embossing folder. It's a great folder. Okay, let's get all of our pieces and start putting this together. Grab my bone folder. So I like to use liquid glue when I have an embossed image. Hopefully this glue will last for the video. Yeah, it's doing okay. I'll put that on here. A little piece, there we go. And then this is actually a label. I hate to cover up that beautiful paper, but that would be way too much behind that. This die is actually from the Branching Out die set. It has just a whole bunch of different sizes of this shape, and they're fabulous. So if you don't have that one, that's another good one to have. All right, and then we're going to use dimensionals for our flowers. So I added just a little bit of the DSP, but I didn't want it to be too busy to detract from our gorgeous flowers. So we'll put 3 dimensionals on here. And I'm going to put it up a little bit because we're going to put the sentiment at the bottom. So let's banner cut our end real quick. So just a little snip in the middle. And then from each end, there we go. And then I will use liquid glue on this too. And we're just going to tuck it up underneath a little bit, just so those leaves just kind of, or flowers go down over it just a little bit. And then the last step is our bling. I should have grabbed, because I do have, well, you can see on the cards I made for Kay's retreat. I do have the other ones. I just wasn't able to order them for class since they were out of stock. So this is, actually this is Timid Tiger, but to me it just looks like a nice gold color. So that's what we're going to use on this one. And there are 3 sizes. So a big one and a little one, and then a medium one. All right, and there we go. That is, I'm going to set these aside. We'll need those again. That is our first card. All right. I need to put this somewhere there. Next card. What are we doing next? I think we're doing this one. So here is an example of just die cutting the designer series paper. And then this is the embossing folder, that wreath, but I just put part of it on a gold foil circle. So that first one had the most stamping. Now it's not very much stamping. So we have, let's grab our Stampin' Pierce mat again. This is one of the labels. And we're going to use our Real Red again. This one says Season's Greetings. And it'll just fit in those curves. Like that. All right, let's start putting everything together. This is a shaded spruce card base. And I used that because that is one of the colors of the gems that we have. And then this is Pool Party, which is the color of the flowers in the paper. So those are Pool Party flowers. So this is just going to go flat on the front. And this is a little bit smaller. I need to figure out which card I'm going to put the dimensions on my blog. Because one of these, I'll put the dimensions on my blog, and it will be the one I give away next week. I kind of forgot to talk about that. There was so much to talk about today. I think we'll do a different one, not this one. All right. I used liquid glue on the back of this because it's embossed. Now, anytime you use liquid glue around foil paper, you want to be careful because if you get any on the front of it, it makes a mess and you can't get it off. All right, let's go ahead. We have a piece of white. Let's put that in there. Now, if you wanted to, you could stamp something on this, stamp some leaves, stamp even this image that's on the front that we're using that we die cut out of the paper. I didn't put anything on mine. All right, and then this guy is going to go up on dimensionals again. And put 3 on there. So far we haven't used any of the ribbon, but we will on the next 2 cards. And that just kind of goes right there. And then this guy, we'll just put a dimensional on each end. We won't put one in the middle. Oh no, I did put one in the middle. I put one in the middle on the bottom because it's going to go over the end of that. So we don't want one that's going to be right on the middle of that, if that makes any sense. Then it would be stacked dimensionals on part of it. So you just want those to be to the edge of that. Whoops, except for it can't go off the edge of the card. Yep. Here we go. All right, and then on this one, I used the shaded spruce, these dark green ones, and I put 5 on here. Just for fun. Lots of bling. You do want to do an odd number. Oh, that was probably supposed to be a medium. We'll put in a medium one over here. There. There we go. So there is card number 2. Hey, Jackie, welcome. All right. Card number 3. Now we're going to use some of this gorgeous ribbon. This is, I think, it's one of my favorites, if not my favorite. All right. And this one, all right, trying to get all my stuff at least a little bit organized. I always have a mess after Facebook Live. This one, you'll notice I cut the holly leaves out of this piece of old olive because nobody's going to know. It's going to be covered with that and nobody will know. But our stamping is on this. This is one of the labels from the traditional labels dies. This time we're stamping in cherry cobbler. And the Merry and the Christmas are separate. And I'm going to stamp the Christmas first. I think I need to re-ink my cherry cobbler, so I'm trying to get. And I'm going to stamp it down here towards the bottom. There we go. And then the Merry. And you'll notice that these are very discolored. It doesn't matter. Reds especially do this to photopolymer, but they clean up just fine. And they work just great. Put our Merry there. And I'm putting it to the right because we're going to put our leaves over here. All right, let's get this out of the way before our cherry cobbler can make a mess. It is a really rich color. Okay. Now we're ready to just put everything together. Make sure I didn't get any on my fingers. So this is our cherry cobbler card base. And this beautiful DSP. I love that. And I didn't really find that there was an up or down to this. They're just kind of going every which way. Again, a piece of white for the inside. Cherry cobbler would be kind of hard to write a message on. If you had a white pen, you could do it, but it's just easier to put a piece of white in here. All right, now when you're putting this one on your old olive mat, you want to just put a little adhesive in the corners. Otherwise, you'll be sticking, if you put it in the middle, you'll be sticking to whatever paper you're working on, whatever surface you're working on. That goes there. And now if you want to go across both, you can. And this is going to go in the middle of this. Isn't that fun, that plaid with the beautiful floral? This guy, we're going to, before we put him on there, let's put our leaves on here. So I'm just going to take a little bit of liquid glue and put it, not right over my card, just on the tip of this, and glue it to our label. Same thing with this one. Glue it there. And while that's drying, oh, I think I put, where's mine? I thought I had put the ribbon in here, maybe not. I guess not. I thought I'd pre-cut it. Wait a moment, let me get the ribbon. Oh, no, I didn't on this one. I did on the next one. So when I'm tying a bow, I just leave it on the spool and just tie it. Now this ribbon, you'll maybe you can see that's very shiny. That's not as shiny. So when I do this knot part is not going to be shiny, but I make sure when I put it back through that the shiny part is up. And one of your tails is not going to be shiny and one is. Whoops. So just tie that. And you might be able to twist it, but usually I don't have much luck with that. And then you can just cut it off the spool then. And that way you're not wasting more. You'll waste a little bit on this end, but it keeps you from wasting on the other end. Okay, now we tried, let's do this now before we put our bow on. This is going to go on with dimensionals. It just goes in the middle of this green piece. Now, we tried glue dots. We tried, oh, I don't know what somebody said. Marion answered exactly. I'll have to go back and look. We tried glue dots. We tried liquid glue. What one of the ladies in class found was just a little bit of seal was the best thing to hold this bow on. So I'm going to angle it so it's not going over my Merry Christmas. Like that. And then we're going to add some of these beautiful red. So we'll do one big one, a small one, and then a medium one. And I like to put it up on the leaf just for fun, the holly leaf. All right. There is our third card. Isn't that fun? I just love that paper. All right, last one is this one. And this is the one, I'll put the measurements on my blog. That way you know how big this old olive piece is. But you'll see that I did that embossing folder again, but just on part of this. So it doesn't have to be the whole thing. Now I want to try playing with it. I've seen people color it. So I would like to see that. Oh, finally here. Okay, that may have been what Mary was talking about. Okay, last one. Then I'll have some to show you. That's where I pre-cut the ribbon. So again, we're going to stamp our sentiment. I think the ladies were glad to get to ones we just stamped. We did that one with all the stamping first in class, just to get it out of the way. All right, real red again. Okay, and I liked to do the and bright. It doesn't really matter, because you're just going to put and bright towards the bottom, and then take your Mary and put that above there. There we go. Close that up before we make a mess. Okay. Let's put all this together. And this is a thick basic white. When you're using white as a card base, you want to use the thick because it's sturdier. Our regular basic white that we do all of our stamping and die cutting on is not as sturdy. So this is probably my second favorite, this plaid. Although they're all so pretty, it is hard to, I mean, you hate to cover this one up too. All right. And then before we put our old olive piece on, we're going to tie our ribbon around it. Again, make sure your shiny side is showing up. We're just going to tie it in a knot. And I've shown several people this, and I think I talked about it last time, but if you want your knot to go across this way instead of up and down, then you want to make sure the same tail is going over the top. So this time I'm going to do left over right. So this is the tail that went over the top. We're going to make that one go over the top again. So then right over left. And this one you can kind of turn it as you're pulling it to try and get, well, that time I ended up with both of them. Not, so let's just twist them. There we go. Now, where did I put my scissors? Here they are. Trim those off. And you want to be sure that knot is about as far to the left as it can go. And for some reason, it doesn't want to slide as easily on this. Let's see if that will work. Yeah, that'll work. Again, it's embossed, so I'm going to use my liquid glue. It needs to be a little straighter. There we go. And I'm going to put it a little bit to the left. Just hold it for a few seconds. And then your Merry and Bright, I'm just going to put one dimensional on the top and one on the bottom to kind of straddle that ribbon. And I will give you a pointer if you have this set and you're die cutting this die. This has a die cut there, so see how it's split? So there's a very thin piece on each side that's holding it in. Use waxed paper. So if you put wax paper on top, so just get you a piece of wax paper, put it on top of your cardstock, then your die on top of that, and then your paper will come out just beautifully. The other ones I didn't have any trouble with, but this one, because of that extra cut and just those little edges, it was a challenge. Once I got my wax paper out, it worked like a champ. All right, we're going to use those beautiful red gems on this one again. And one more. All right, that is card number 4. All right, so those are all of the cards that we made in class Monday night that's a part of this online class. So again, if you place an order, I don't know what I did with my piece of paper, but if you place an order of $50, you'll get the kit to make these minus the embellishments. You'll need the dies and stamps to be able to do this. I will send the designer series paper and the ribbon. if you place an order of $75 or more, then you'll get the kit for the cards plus an embellishment. All right, so that's that class. Now let me show you what we made. So it's funny, I had this class planned, and then I went to Kay's retreat, and she was using the same suite. It was so funny. So let me show you. I think I shared them yesterday or the day before. But these are the cards that she had in her suite, which are beautiful. So these are the embellishments. Whoops, that one's about to come off. That go with the suite, those sparkle. They're so pretty. And this is some of the designer series paper. We just die cut it. Some of that beautiful poinsettia paper again. This we just fussy cut out of the paper. You could die cut the flower by itself. You could die cut 2 leaves, but it was easier to just fussy cut the paper. There's that beautiful embossing folder again with a little bit of the designer series paper and some gold foil. So far I've used only gold. I think I use some different ones eventually. This also is cut out of the designer series paper. This is cherry cobbler, some gold foil. This is kind of a fun fold, and I use the green ones on this one. So it opens like that. Isn't that pretty? And then the last card from the retreat is this one. Again, cut out of the DSP. And we stamped some little, something else was trying to come off, some little greenery there. And then we also, I forgot to post these online. They were set up somewhere else. We made 3 tags. So that, I used the red on that one. So this we cut one big piece of the gold and then used part of it on each tag. Isn't that fun? So that was everything from Kay's class. Now somewhere here I set aside, I'll have to find them. Here they are. I wanted to show you the swaps I got. So I was not able to attend the Kay's team meeting last Saturday, but I always try and participate in the swaps. And these are the swaps that I got. So this one is from Kay. Yep. And this is a sneak peek of some new paper, maybe the stamps too. I don't remember. Probably that are coming in, some new online exclusives in November, like November 4th or 5th. This one is from Paula. Isn't that cute? This one is from Carol. Look at this fancy one. Isn't that cool? And look at that. So that's a die cut. And then she colored all of these. That was a lot of work. Very nice. This one is from Sherry. It might be the, what is it called? Textured notes, maybe? I'm not sure. This one is from Khaki. And then this is the one I did with some of that glimmer paper. This is Baubles and Blooms, I think, is the stamp set. I played with it at the retreat. I hadn't played with it before. So there's just some swap cards to share with you. Okay. That is it. Bring these out one more time, just so you have something pretty to look at. All right, again, I will put this one on my blog, the measurements for that one. You have till Monday night to place an order if you want this card kit. And you will get a PDF. I always forget to mention this. You will get a PDF with instructions for all 4 of them if you place an order and get the card kit. I think that's it. Free shipping is going on today, ends tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day. I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I should be back next Thursday unless I'm in the middle of having a granddaughter. We're on call, so if they go into labor, if she goes into labor, we're there to take care of the other 2 while they have a baby. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next week. Bye.